Hey everyone, it's Chrono with Headphones.com, and today I felt as though it was as good a day as any for me to revisit some of my favorite headphones in the $1,000 to $2,000 range. I'll be sharing with you my favorite qualities about them so you can choose which ones are the best for you. Before actually getting started, I just want to apologize if my voice sounds a little bit funky. I was cheering at the Argentina-Croatia game, and if you've been watching the World Cup, you'll know that that was very exciting. I'm kind of relying on this cola to keep my voice going through the video. But with that out of the way, let's check out the first headphone, which is the excellent and undoubtedly top tier HiFiMan Arya, which retails at $12.99 at the time of me filming this video. Now, despite having gone through some slightly controversial revisions, and yes, this is the V3 with the stealth magnets, for me, this headphone still possesses and brings to the forefront the qualities that really made the Arya into the very popular and beloved headphone that it is today. What are those qualities? Well, for me, the standouts are first, the soundstage. It's a very open and spacious sounding headphone that competes with the likes of the HD800S and creating a good sense of distance. It also lets you very easily pick out all the different instrument lines that make up a track, so it's a very good instrument separation. Now, if there's one thing I would warn about this headphone is that the tonality it has is good. It's not one that I think is offensive in any particular way, but it does have a sort of slightly counterclockwise tilt to it. So what you get is a headphone that is perhaps a little overexposed. It has a lot of sparkle and airiness to it. Again, it's not that it sounds harsh because it's a very even elevation, but it can sound, again, just a little overexposed, artificially. If you're a mid-centric listener or prefer warmer sounding headphones, this might not be the best for you. But aside from that, this is a really well-rounded headphone. After the price drop now, I definitely think it's one of the best values you can find in the high-end audio market. Up next, we have not one, but two headphones from Audeze. And even though, like the Arya, they're planar magnetic headphones, they deliver a completely different listening experience. Now, the first of these two headphones is the 2021 revised LCD-X, which you can get as part of the creators package for $1,199. So it used to be a little bit difficult recommending Audeze headphones because for their price, they always delivered excellent technical performance. But their tonality was a little bit borked, and I think most people would agree with that, until we had the 2021 revision, which saw the pads updated for a lot of their headphones, and this included the LCD-X, which benefited greatly from this because now what you had was a headphone that, yes, it delivered the excellent technical performance that it always had, but now it had a much more enjoyable tonality that didn't require you to to mess around with things like EQ. Now, if there's one problem with the LCD-X is sort of another challenge that classic Audeze designs have always had, which is the weight. I mean, this thing comes in at over 600 grams. So for most people, it's gonna be a neck workout. But that's when the second Audeze headphone I wanted to talk about comes into play, and that is the newer MM500. The MM500, in terms of its sound, has a presentation that is actually quite similar to that of the LCD-X, as well as the technical performance, but there are a few key differences. I actually find that the tonal balance of the MM500 is a little bit more natural and neutral sounding. It actually has more presence in the upper mid-range, so the mids in general just sound like a bit richer. And the other thing is that, as you can see here or on the B-roll that's on your screen, it's using the new LCD5 style chassis, which, it's not by any measure like a super light headphone, but it does cut out roughly 100 grams of weight when compared to the LCD-X. Now, that being said, this design is still not perfect, particularly on the MM500. The clamp on this thing is quite fierce. Now, I know I have a bigger, wider head, so that's maybe why this feels as clampy as it does. But in general, I find that your mileage may vary as to which headphone you find more comfortable. So if you're more sensitive to weight, then you might prefer this over the LCD-X. But if the clamp force is too aggressive for you, as it is for me, then maybe you do prefer the sort of fit and comfort of the LCDX. Now, if there's another thing I wanted to mention, is that the MM500 is actually quite a bit more expensive. It comes in at $16.99. So while I do think it has a better frequency response and the comfort could be a great improvement for some users, you know, you're not getting much of a change in technical performance, but you are paying quite a premium. So that's something to keep in mind. Moving along, we have the first dynamic driver headphone on this list, and that is the Focal Clear MG, which retails at $14.99. This is of course the follow-up or next iteration of Focal's beloved Focal Clear. And overall, I think personally that this is an improvement over the original Clear. I know that's something that's up for contention, but a lot of the frequency response issues that I had with the original headphone have been addressed or in some way changed on this new version, the MG. The first one being that it has a slightly more upshelf bass, so you get a little bit more lower bass presence, which was something that I was sort of missing on the original Clear. And the other thing, which is more important for me, is that the treble is slightly more evened out. You don't have the aggressive 8.5 to 9K peak that introduced sibilance, which was on the original Clear. So that's gone on this one. Now, if there is one thing I should mention, and this is sort of specific to headphones.com, but I feel as though the Clear MG's existence is undermined to some extent by the original Clear still being available and at a much lower price. So the Clear MG, $14.99, and the original Clear, which you can still buy from headphones.com, I think it's like $900, and it delivers pretty much the same performance, just with a slightly different frequency response. So I think it's an excellent headphone. You know, it has very good technical performance, not quite as detailed as some of the headphones that I mentioned previously on this list, but it does have those excellent focal dynamics. You know, it has a great sense of punch and slam. It really delivers a sort of physicality and really satisfying kick. Up next, we have a headphone that when it came out, it got the audiophile community very excited because it wasn't using the drivers we've been used to. It wasn't using an E-stat driver, not a dynamic driver, not a planar magnetic driver, but instead it's using an AMT or air motion transfer driver. It is the Head Audio Headphone. Okay, so the HEDDPhone, and yes, I'll call it HEDDPhone because it is spelled HEDD, was originally the most expensive headphone on this list since it used to retail at $18.99, but currently you can find it new at like $12.99. And not only was it the most expensive headphone, but in my opinion, it's the one that delivers the best technical performance. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but its soundstage is excellent. Yes, it's spacious. It has excellent imaging, but it sort of feels like listening to speakers in a way. It's different than when you get, you know, when you listen to like an HC100S or an Arya. That being said, there are a few caveats here with the HEDDPhone. The first of which is the comfort. Now, you can see here, it's a fairly clunky looking headphone, and it feels like it. The other thing is that its frequency response, I think, will not be for everyone. It doesn't have a particularly bad timbre, but I do find that it's a little bit nasally sounding since there's a bit of a bump at around 600 to 700 hertz. It's a really unique listening experience, the HEDDPhone, and again, it just delivers outstanding performance. So at $12.99, again, sort of like the Arya, it's one of the best values you can find in the current audio market. It doesn't get much better than that for performance. Last but not least, we have a dynamic driver headphone that's been considered by many for nearly a decade or over a decade to be sort of the benchmark for high-end flagship headphones, and that is of course Sennheiser's HD800/HD800S. Let me get one thing out of the way. The bass on this headphone is not very good. It's not particularly present. It doesn't have a particularly generous bass shelf. But aside from that, I love just about everything about this headphone. It's very comfortable. It has a really, really natural sounding tuning and voicing for the mid-range. It's sort of similar to what you get on the HD600. And it's also, for the most part, very even and well extended into the treble. The only thing that stands out to me on the HD100S is that there's a sort of peak at 5.5K that does introduce a little bit of glare and sibilance, which is why I think people find it to be a little bit bright sounding. But honestly, I don't find this headphone to be as bright sounding as something like the Arya. So if you don't mind sacrificing a little bit of, you know, bass quality, I think that the HC100S is still a world-class headphone in 2022 and a fantastic option, you know, because you get a very natural sound out of it and it has a very spacious and incredibly precise soundstage. It's still a very awesome headphone. I think that you really can't go wrong here, and they're all excellent headphones. If I manage to get you interested in any of them, I will leave links in the description down below to my reviews of them. I think I reviewed all of them except for the MM500 and the HEDDPhone. So be sure to check those out if you are interested in learning more. But anyways, that's all for me today. I hope you enjoyed this video or found it useful. If you did, do consider dropping a like. If you'd like to learn more about any of these headphones or anything else audio related, I highly encourage you to check out the audio files on headphones.com. For more headphone audio content, stay tuned by subscribing to the Headphone Show here on YouTube. And until next time, this is Corona signing off.